All right, let's talk about the Advanced Performance Management exam. If you've ever felt like APM is less of a test and more of a cryptic puzzle, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to break it all down. We're going to transform that big challenge into a code that you can actually solve.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. First things first, we've got to acknowledge the big problem, right? So many really smart, really capable candidates just hit a wall with this exam. And believe me, there's a very specific reason for that.
You know the official feedback from the examiners? It pretty much tells the whole story. The biggest trap, the reason people fail, it's not a lack of knowledge. Not at all. It's knowing all the models and all the theories, but then completely failing to connect them to the actual business problem in the scenario. See, you can't just recite the textbook. You have to solve the case.
So what does it really take to pass? Well, it is definitely not about memorizing more definitions. It's about a complete fundamental shift in how you think. You've got to stop thinking like a student and start thinking like a performance management consultant who's been hired to give real-world advice.
And that's where your study material, like this Kaplan kit we're using, becomes so critical. But you have to look at it in a whole new way. It's not a textbook you just memorize. Nope. Think of it as your strategic code book, a consultant's playbook that's just jam-packed with tools and frameworks.
I mean, think about it. Every single question on this exam is basically a mini consulting project. You've been given a client, right? And they have a very specific set of problems. The models in your codebook, those are your analytical tools. They're what you're going to use to diagnose the issue and, most importantly, recommend a solution. All right, so let's get practical. Enough theory. We're going to look at a few key tools from this APM toolkit and see exactly how they pop up in real exam scenarios. This way, you can see this whole consultant mindset thing in action. Okay, first up in our toolkit, zero-based budgeting, or ZBB. Now, most companies, what do? They take last year's budget and just add a little bit, right? Well, ZBB says, nope, forget that. You start from zero. Every single expense, every single dollar has to be justified from scratch. It forces you to critically review absolutely everything.
In this scenario, it's a perfect illustration of how this exam works. It's not just going to ask you, hey, what is ZBB? No way. It puts you in a room with a CEO who needs your expert advice on whether to use this thing for a really high-stakes area like new product development. See? You're the consultant here.
Okay, next tool in the box, Kaizen costing. Now, this one isn't about some massive, disruptive overhaul. It's the complete opposite. It's all about continuous improvement, making things just a little bit better, a little bit cheaper every single day. And the key is everyone in the company gets involved.
And again, just look at the task they give you. You're not just defining a term. Come on. You are literally advising the board of directors on a huge strategic shift, changing how the entire company manages its costs just so it can survive in a tough market. This is serious stuff.
All right, now for a really key performance measure, economic value added, or EVA. Now, this one asks a super powerful question. It's basically asking, are we actually creating real value for our shareholders, or are we just making a profit that's, well, less than what our investors could have earned somewhere else?
And this leads to a classic APM task. I mean, you've got these 3 divisions, and they all have totally different jobs. You've got a cash cow just generating money, a star that's all about high growth, and then this problem child, a risky new venture. You just can't use the same yardstick to measure all of them, right? It wouldn't be fair. So your job is to pick and then justify the right tools. Maybe it's ROI, or EVA to assess each one fairly.
You know, sometimes those small, little changes like Kaizen, they just aren't enough. Sometimes you need a full-blown revolution. And that, my friends, is business process re-engineering, or BPR. This is about completely rethinking and radically redesigning a core business process from the ground up, all to get some really dramatic improvements.
Okay, now this is where you can really see the power of BPR. Just look at the process on the left, from the PAT-TAC case. I mean, it's kind of a mess, right? Parcels are collected, then taken to a central place, details are recorded, routes are planned. It's just so long and complicated. But now, look at the re-engineered process on the right. See what's changed? Big things like planning the delivery schedule happen before the parcel is even picked up. The driver who collects is the same one who delivers. It's just faster, way simpler, with fewer points of failure. That's the kind of dramatic improvement we're talking about with BPR.
Okay, so you've got the consultant's mindset. You know your toolkit. Now, how do we put it all together? Let's build this into a really practical, no-nonsense game plan for exam day.
Rule number 1. This is absolutely non-negotiable, and it comes straight from the official advice. You have to attempt every single required question. Leaving a question blank is pretty much the fastest way to fail. I mean, you just can't get marks for an empty page, right?
Now this next one, this is probably the single most important discipline you need to master. Time. In that exam hall, time is your most precious resource. You have to be absolutely ruthless with it. When your time for a question is up, you need to have the courage to just stop and move on, even if your answer isn't perfect.
So all of this brings us to this number. Just look at it, 50%. This is your target. You are not, and I repeat, not aiming for a perfect 100% answer. That is a trap, and it will cause you to completely blow your time management. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to get about half the available marks on every question you do. Look, a good, solid 50 or 60% answer on all the questions is so much better than one perfect answer and then a total disaster on another. The goal here is simple. It's to pass. So here it is, your 4-step game plan for every single question you face. Step 1. Understand the client's problem. That means reading the requirement first to see what the CEO is actually asking for. 2. Select your tools. Go into your toolkit and pick the right models for the job. 3. Apply them to the scenario. Use the data, use the details from the case to back up your advice. And finally, step 4. Manage your time. Aim for that 50% pass, not perfection, and then move on to the next client.
So when you reframe the exam like this, everything changes, doesn't it? You're no longer just a student taking a test. You're a professional. You're a consultant, stepping into that boardroom to provide valuable, well-reasoned advice. And that is the code to cracking APM.